Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to our latest Manufacturer of the Week. This week we're heading to Rochdale in Lancashire to meet Richard Hagan, who's Managing Director of Crystal Doors. Richard, a very warm welcome to the programme.
Hello, thank you very much for inviting me, Nick.
Well, Crystal Doors, you make vinyl wrapped, or your traditional output has been vinyl wrapped doors products for the home mainly. What were you able to carry on, or did you have to shut down? What happened when lockdown hit?
On the day of lockdown that we knew the day afterwards we were closing, I rang the majority of my large suppliers to say that we'll be closing. However, we also work within the medical industry, supplying for schools, hospitals, prisons, care homes. And when I spoke to a company called Teal Healthcare, they said they've had a serious amount of telephone calls and conversations with the National Health regarding the Nightingale Hospitals, and they've been inundated with orders. Unfortunately, I rang at just the right moment as 6,000 overbed tops were required for the Nightingale Hospitals. This kept us busy 24 hours a day for the whole period of lockdown. So we've been very, very fortunate to have been successful and supported the country.
Everything I know about your company makes me understand that you are very resilient and you're also ready and able to adapt and turn on the proverbial sixpence. It's because you've been on a tremendous productivity journey over the last few years. Can you tell us something about that and about how the company has changed in the last few years?
The difficulty is we're constantly upgrading. It's next year there's a better phone, next year there's a better car, next year there's a better whatever the fashion may be. And manufacturing needs to be that what we've got is able to then last a lot longer. When we had our dust extractor, it was a case of I understood what Industry 4.0 was about. It was about predictive maintenance. It was about increasing those efficiencies. It was about gathering much more data. And when we specified the dust extractor, what would be now 4 years ago, it was completely unknown. Unfortunately, the guys in Los Angeles, and one of them is a rocket scientist, and it took a rocket scientist to be able to solve the problem of creating the software and be able to get the machine. What we've got now is an Industry 4.0 dust extractor. This one, which has worked tremendously well for the last 3 years, will last 25 years quite happily. And it's those big leaps that companies need to be making rather than lots and lots of little steps of dribbling out to customers. And what Crystal Doors is attempting to do is making these very, very large steps, which even the global brands aren't able to do. And as you've just said, Nick, as a small company, I've got full control, and we are making very, very large strides in a lot of different areas very, very quickly.
Let's put some context on this. I think I've read somewhere that about 25 years ago, your company was producing 1,000 units a week. And today, with the same number of people, you're producing many times that. Can you put a figure on that?
Minimum 3,000 a week. We can probably hit about 6,000 or 7,000 a week from the same staff. The main one is the efficiencies within the machinery and the types of machines that we've got. So instead of it being very labour intensive, it's now a lot more that the machines do the work and we're just checking the quality and ensuring that the specifications are correct. And I think this is the difficulty that a lot of companies have got is we've got to adapt to mass customisation. It's being able to give the customer whatever they want and at speed. So Crystal Doors capability on the kitchen, bedrooms and bathrooms, we turn the doors around in less than 7 days. And then we then mix that within the contract work, which is usually 3 weeks. So therefore, we've got a very level amount of manufacturing every day, which works perfect for us.
You've talked about the fourth industrial revolution, and you've talked about data gathering and so on. Where did this awareness come from? Because not everybody has it, and you've been ploughing this furrow for a good many years now.
It came from the fact that Crystal Doors is sitting next to Rochdale Canal, which obviously is very, very well protected. And when we bought a biomass burner just under 1 megawatt, we had a huge amount of issues to get it through planning, and it took 3 years. I knew from a dust extractor that's going to throw a lot of dust. They would definitely complain that it's next to Rochdale Canal. and I couldn't have the company have to move just because of a dust extractor. So it was a case of finding out how do I do the massive amount of risk assessment to ensure that when I go back to the Environment Agency, we've got proof. And Industry 4.0 gives you that proof because we've just got huge amounts of data to prove constantly, 24/7, it's being monitored, and it will then react immediately to whatever the situation is. And it's once you've understood and the penny's dropped, then you then move on to the next stage. The hard one is for a lot of companies is a digital transformation is a huge journey, but it's not a single purchase. It's a case of starting the journey and then making those quick wins and then continuing the journey. Crystal Doors is well on the way, but at the same time, we're now working with universities, we're working with the Info Group. We've got 2 talented students that are now working on 2 projects. We've taken on a project manager for our digital transformation. That's how important it is for us to be able to make those next stages of efficiency.
Richard, I'm sensing quite correctly that I know that you have led this because this is something you believe passionately in. But you said you have got a 35-strong workforce. Many of them have been with you for many years. Not everybody gets it. Not everybody buys into this. And I imagine there's been some resistance. How have you managed to bring your team with you to prepare the company for what appears to be a very bright future?
Cultural change is very difficult, and for me, it's small steps, and it's within the hearts and minds of those employees of changing what used to be. This is what we have every day, and that's what they expect. So a constant change now is our employees know that every single month there will be something new being pushed through. Certainly now we're on the carbon side as well to get to carbon neutral, and the digital side. They know that it's almost going back to school, going back to university, that we're constantly under this opportunity of learning. And that is what Crystal Doors has become. It's almost like an academy, rather than it's a place of work, it's a place of learning. And that's, to me, is as long as people are seeing the benefits and they're seeing the opportunities, then people come along with the story. But sometimes it does take a game changer. In the past, I've always driven very nice cars, the Range Rovers, the Jaguars built in England, and then I turned up in a Nissan Leaf 2 when they first got launched. And obviously the employees thought, have we run out of money? What's happened to the boss? And it's a case of sometimes really pushing it in front of them to sort of say, these are the dramatic, radical changes that are required. And then when they see that Richard's happy, well, then there's other things that are coming through.
I love the story you tell about one particular employee who just didn't get it, and you bought them a present which actually helped them get it rather quickly.
Yes, the gentleman's in his late 50s, and he loves his grandchildren. And when we got the robot sprayer, and it's got a touch screen, he was used to hand spraying since being a car sprayer, leaving school, and he could not get technology at all. And once I triggered that he loves his grandchildren, I thought if I buy him a smartphone, he's going to want to take photographs, and then part of his family, and it was one of his sons, and then the grandson started teaching him how to use the phone. Before we know it, he's like this in front of me, tapping away, and I said, well, it's the same. He said, I get it, yeah, I just tap on these now, don't I? It's sometimes you need to be able to open the gate and show them the field. I know grass is always green on the other side, but sometimes it's got to be a case of you sort of say, this is what it is. And it's the same with the electric car. Everyone laughed at me on the first electric car. Now I've got a Tesla ludicrous. Now everybody wants to have a journey in the Tesla.
Richard, you've mentioned the environment and your beliefs around that, but you're actually heading for carbon net zero. I believe 2022 is your target year. Is this going to be about process, or are you looking for your product to be carbon net zero? Because that's an altogether different ball of wax.
Yes, yeah, we're going for the process, and that's scope 1, 2, and 3, which is we're looking at all the energy that we use in manufacturing. We are looking at our suppliers of how they deliver to us, and we're looking at our customers how we deliver to them. But the embodied carbon, which the only way to get around it is an environmental product disclosure, which is then looking at the whole structure. And it's very difficult. It's scope 1 and 2 quite a small amount that's manageable. Scope 3 is much, much harder. And then trying to look at the whole net of life cycle of your product, from the beginnings of all the raw materials coming in to how it's used and how it's then recycled and put back into, so it's what's called cradle to cradle. That is very, very difficult. But for me, this is the driver that needs to be achieved as fast as possible for people to be able to make an informed decision when they're purchasing. What country did it come from? It's really easy to sort of think that cherries are all the year round, all the different fruits are all the year round. But some of these are coming from far, far away, and their carbon footprints are huge.
Richard, what would you say to somebody, maybe another manufacturer, who says, yeah, this is easy. All I do, I can get around this carbon thing. I can just go and buy some carbon credits. Why don't you do that?
We've been wanting to reduce our electricity for the last 5 years. We've reduced it by 75%. It's get your base level, it's reduce it as much as you can, and then offset when you can't reduce it anymore. I could have quite easily, 7 years ago, I've just offset all my carbon and said I was carbon neutral. That is just greenwash. It's a case of having to actually get real carbon reductions within your process first, before even considering carbon offsets.
We're now looking to a period when people are coming back to work and trying to find new ways of working together. Obviously social distancing and all of that. People are trying to get back to school and hoping that's going to be okay. What's your take on this? What lessons have you learned from lockdown? Are you going to be trying to make it all as it was? Or are you looking to change the way things are going to happen in the future because of your lockdown experience?
The lockdown experience has shown that we can change rapidly. Companies have had to adopt very, very quickly. Governments have had to take actions extremely quickly. Brexit, we've just dragged on. COVID-19 has changed literally from week to week of what the government's had to do. Crystal Doors is in a better place. We had proven understanding that whatever disasters we had, we could cope. And having to have remote working, we're already set up for. I'm certainly pleased that I'm now a remote worker and will remain a remote worker. I'm very, very happy that I can command from the computer, and it's the same with other employees who are processing orders. It does not matter where they are. We have learned lots of lessons, but the main one is have we made positive steps forward? And for Crystal Doors, it has been. We're now more efficient than we were before.
Richard Hagan, I want to thank you very much indeed for giving us this virtual tour of your company and your philosophy. Fascinating stuff. I really appreciate it. Congratulations.
Thank you very much indeed, Nick. Thank you for your time.
And that's it from this edition of Manufacturer of the Week. Perhaps you'd like to be Manufacturer of the Week on ZenootTV. The email address where you could apply to do that is just below the screen here. So do get in touch and we'd love to see you. Thank you very much indeed for watching. See you next time.